Trump administration is now asking Congress to completely eliminate funding for Head Start. If they do that, when they do that, that would cut early education for more than 500,000 of the nation's neediest children and childcare for their family. And before we give you all the details on this, I love history and I love context. So I just like to remind you that, hey, this was another thing that was in Project 2025. Eliminate Head Start. Just kill the entire thing. Screw over those who need access to childcare in rural America. Isn't it strange that basically all of these moves, as designated by Project 2025, particularly screw over people in rural areas? It's the sort of thing that should bother the MAGA movement, but doesn't seem to. In any event, the proposal, the initial details of their call to kill Head Start was tucked into a 64-page internal draft budget document obtained by the AP that seeks deep cuts at the Department of Health and Human Services. That's another important story. More than a third of the entire budget for HHS being talked about being destroyed. We're not gonna focus on that here, but just understand there's a lot of insane Doge cuts to go around. But according to the draft, it says the budget does not fund Head Start. It says eliminating the program is consistent with the Trump administration's, quote, goals of returning control of education to the states and increasing parental control. The federal government should not be in the business of mandating curriculum, locations, and performance standards for any form of education, which does not really in any way describe what Head Start does. And the idea that poor families desperately trying to have their kids be able to go to school, that this would result in them having more control in literally any sense makes no sense, but that's the cover story that they're making there. Now, spokespeople for Health and Human Services did not respond to a request for comment. This is the sort of thing that they're not gonna wanna talk about. They're just gonna wanna kill it and let you deal with the consequences. But the executive director for the National Head Start Association, Yasmina Vinci, did actually say something. She said, it reflects a divestment in our future. Eliminating funding for Head Start would be catastrophic. It would be a direct attack on our nation's most at-risk children, their well-being, and their families. And by the way, if you are not really familiar with Head Start, if you haven't had to use it or anything, some people think of it as being like a preschool program, which in part it is, but that's not all it does. It provides meals and health screenings. It helps level the playing field for children who might otherwise fall behind before starting kindergarten. Many of the kids that are in Head Start and use its programs are in foster care or are homeless, and this helps them to maybe not be held back for their entire lives by that. It currently operates in all 50 states, and parents who otherwise would not be able to afford childcare rely on it when they work or go to school, because otherwise they might not be able to do that. Again, it's a very difficult position that many of these people will be put in, and there doesn't seem to be any acknowledgement of that from the Trump administration. What do you think, Cenk?
Yeah, so this could affect up to 800,000 families. And speaking of health that John alluded to, it's been shown that if kids are not in Head Start versus they are in Head Start, they've done studies like this, that if the kids not in Head Start have much more health issues down the road, which then costs us an enormous amount of money. So there's an excellent case to be made that Head Start actually saves us money in the long run, right? On just health issues, let alone everything else. So here we are again. So they're gonna cut Head Start, a wonderful program that Americans love and is one of the government programs that has worked and we as universally liked, except for, of course, hard right MAGA, who says who cares about other people, and they're the radical right, and they think if it doesn't affect me, I don't care about other human beings at all, okay? But they're a very small minority. Overall, the country loves Social Security, Medicare, and Head Start. You can have debates about other topics and other policies, but they love those programs, right? So now we're gonna cut from the average American, and this affects everyone equally, okay? This is not anything but general to the entire country, okay? Why? Because we need a $5.5 trillion for the tax cuts for the rich and for corporations. And now, on top of that, we're apparently going to build some sort of golden dome for Elon Musk to control the world. And that's going to cost a gargantuan amount of money and is likely not going to work, okay? So in order to waste all of our money on tax cuts for corporations and subsidies and government contracts to Elon Musk, we're gonna have to cut programs for your kids and for your neighbors' kids, and just devastate one of the few programs, not devastate, eliminate one of the few government programs that the average American love. So you just can't get worse than this. So these guys are the most obvious fake populists in human history. What kind of populism is this? Take from the average American and give to literally the richest man in the world. Garbage, nothing but garbage.
And it's so mean-spirited, and it's so, and if you want to talk about the total amount of money that would be saved from harming all of these children and their families, it's minuscule compared to what could be cut out of the Pentagon or any other sort of many other initiatives. But of course, that's not who they want to target. And remember, all of these cuts are so that tax cuts can be conducted and passed through for the wealthiest of the wealthy Americans, going back to the Trump tax cuts. So this is absolutely horrible. So not only is Cenk correct that that Head Start, I was looking into this a little bit before today, that not only does Head Start save incredible amounts of money because it sets kids up and their families up on the right track, but there's actually pretty solid psychology research and developmental psychology research showing that period before kindergarten is absolutely critical in influencing what a young person's life will actually end up looking like. Their sort of mental and emotional and cognitive imprinting actually occurs. And that's clear, peer-reviewed science that shows that again and again and again. So this is just another horrible action of many. And gosh, we just have to do everything we can to expose this as not populism, as not actually insurrectionist. It's actually, if anything, further cementing the status of the very few elites and oligarchs that are essentially in control in our country.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.